Support Name Explain on Patreon for $1 a month to enjoy ad-free videos, exclusive content, your name at the end of each video, as well as the chance to have your idea for a Name Explain video made into reality. Go to patreon.com/Name Explain or click the link down below.
There isn't really a singular fruit out there that is simply called a berry. Berry is instead a word we use for a collection of different fruits. Technically, in botanical terms, a berry is actually a fruit formed from a single flower, specifically with seeds on the inside as opposed to the outside. This means that there are fruits out there that we culinarily refer to as berries that aren't actually berries, and conversely there are fruits that we don't call berries that are technically berries, like bananas, avocados, and even pumpkins can be seen as berries too. This video won't be covering pumpkins and bananas, however. Sorry to disappoint anyone wanting to see those. We're going to be focusing solely on fruit that contain the word berry in their name, whether they be technically berries or not. As a word unto itself, berries are pretty unknown origins. It seems to have ultimately evolved from the Gothic Weinbassi, which actually meant grape, until it evolved into the Germanic bille, in the Old English berry, and eventually into the modern word of berry. Thankfully, we aren't all that interested in just the word berry, otherwise this video would be pretty short. What we are more interested in are the words / morphemes / prefixes / whatever you want to call them that we often see before the word berry in various berry names. To differentiate different kinds of berries, we place words in front of their name, and some of these words are really weird and seemingly have little connection to the berry at hand. This isn't always the case, however. Blueberry and blackberry are pretty easy to understand, simply named after their colours. Yet then we have something like a strawberry. Like, what has the stuffing of a scarecrow got to do with these berries? Or even raspberries. Rasp is a term we use to describe a creaky sounding voice. What has that kind of voice got to do with these berries? Likewise, are elderberries named after old people? Or gooseberries named after the horrible birds? Then we have the one that is a complete enigma. The cran in cranberry. This cran morpheme appears in no other English word and has become the namesake for all unique morphemes, as they are collectively referred to as cranberry morphemes. Yeah, I talked about this in the recent orphaned words video, which in turn inspired this video, so sorry if I'm sounding a little repetitive. Go watch that one if you haven't already. What I'm trying to get at is that berry prefixes can be really weird things, and while many of us just utter them without even thinking twice, it's time someone actually started thinking twice about them. And who better than someone who has literally dozens of subscribers on YouTube who focus on how things got their names. So let's look into these berries that have seemingly unrelated words at the start of their name. Why don't we kick things off properly with the strawberry? These are the quote-unquote berries, deeply linked with things like cakes, all things sweet, and tennis matches for some reason. I say quote-unquote as technically strawberries aren't actually berries. As mentioned, a true berry has its seeds on the inside, and we can clearly see a strawberry seeds on its outside. Straw, however, is the byproduct of dried plants and grass, which we use for all kinds of reasons. It can be fed to horses, or even used as bedding for a pet like a rabbit or a tortoise. There are multiple theories as to why these popular berries are named after straw. One theory is that they have this name because they are grown and bedded within straw, but that one doesn't seem to be all that true. A more believed theory is that initially they were called strewn berries. Strewn is a word meaning something is scattered in a messy manner. It's believed they were called this because as the berries grew, the vines and shoots became strewn across the ground. Eventually strewn berry was corrupted into strawberry, so it seemingly has nothing to do with actual straw. Like the strawberry, it seems that the gooseberry has nothing to do with actual geese either. These berries are somewhat tart in taste and aren't as popular as other berries out there. The name is ultimately of German origins. In Old German they were called Klauselbeere, which translates into something along the lines of curled or crimped berry, probably in relation to the stalks and vines that the berries grow on. This German name became Grossalia in medieval Latin, which eventually became gooseberry, so it's seemingly just a coincidence that they share their name with geese. Lingonberries are a kind of berry deeply linked with Scandinavia. Personally for me, when I think of lingonberries, IKEA comes to mind. The lingon in their name is of Normandic roots, coming from the Old Norse word of lingia, which means heather, once again relating to the plant of heather which they may grow from. Loganberries have a very similar name to lingonberries, but they are unrelated. In fact, the loganberry is actually a hybrid of a blackberry and a raspberry. This berry was apparently created completely by accident by amateur horticulturist James Harvey Logan in the USA in 1881. His accidental berries were seemingly a huge success, so much so that his last name became their name. Yeah, he is the Logan in Loganberries. They aren't named after another famous Logan, you know, the one with metal claws or anything like that. I didn't know that a huckleberry is actually a kind of berry. I just thought it was a name made up by Mark Twain. They are apparently smaller berries similar to blueberries and cranberries. There doesn't seem to be all that much information out there as to what the huckle in huckleberry actually means, but they might have originally been called whortleberries, with the first part coming from the Old English hort, which meant heart. Why they would be named after hearts, I have no clue. Maybe they're good for your heart, or maybe it's because they look a little bit like them. Who's to say? There are a ton of berries I didn't know existed prior to writing this video, all with fairly odd names, one of those being the chokeberry. These are small black berries, and their name is actually somewhat related to the berries themselves for once. These berries when eaten raw are very astringent, which means they can cause contractions in the skin. This means that when eaten they can make your throat contract, which can result in you, well, choking. This is why they're known as chokeberries. Yeah, probably give these guys a miss if you're lost and hungry in the woods. Likewise, another berry I had never heard of before was the tayberry. These are similar to loganberries in the fact they are a hybrid between blackberries and raspberries, but different species of blackberries and raspberries. Tayberries were cultivated in Scotland, specifically close to the River Tay. It is from this river as to where the name comes from. So why don't we move on to a more known berry? That being the raspberry. As mentioned, rasp or raspy is used to describe a creaky, somewhat sore sounding voice, and there's nothing particularly raspy about raspberries, like they don't even have a mouth or vocal cords. The rasp in raspberry may instead come from the word rapsy, a kind of sweet pinkish wine. This wine is very similar in colour to the berries, so that's likely where the word came from. The wine may even be made with raspberries, which kind of gives us a chicken or egg scenario in regards to what is named after what, so we don't need to think too much about it. What we will think more about, however, is why making a fart sound with your mouth is called a raspberry. This might be a British English thing, so apologies if that's lost on you. But yeah, making this sound with your mouth is referred to as a raspberry. This is believed to derive from our old friend of Cockney rhyming slang, which is something we've gone into in the past in a video unto itself. It is believed to have initially been raspberry tart, with the tart part rhyming with fart, before the tart part being omitted and us being just left with raspberry for this sound. We do actually have one more raspberry hybrid to cover, that being the boysenberry. According to Wikipedia, this is a hybrid of a raspberry, blackberry, dewberry, and loganberry, which is already a hybrid. Seriously, this is like the Frankenstein's monster of berries. This name, once again, comes from its creator, one Rudolf Boysen. What about the elderberry? Has this name got anything to do with it being so old? Well, that doesn't seem to be the case. This name doesn't relate to elderly people, but instead it might possibly come from the Anglo-Saxon word of ald, which means kindle or fire. This is because the stems of the elderberry plant were often used as kindling, so fireberries would be a more fitting name for them, and it makes them sound like the fire fruit from Tears of the Kingdom, which is pretty cool. Ackee berries are actually way smaller and of South American origins. Their name is a Portuguese corruption of a native word that translates roughly into meaning fruit that expels water. I imagine due to just how much juice you can get from these guys. And then of course we have to mention cranberries. These guys help create an amazing juice, but like I said up top and in a previous video, we have no clue where the cran in cranberry comes from, and it doesn't seem to relate to any other term, hence why it's the namesake of the cranberry morpheme. There are theories out there that it might relate to cranes, however, whether that be because they ate them or because their stems look like the beak of a crane. And the final berry I want to talk about, however, is the blackberry. No, not the fruit one, the phone one. Yeah, this is a huge tangent, but it's my own video, so who cares? These phones were once the peak in technology, but now seem a little outdated. I never owned one, but some of my friends did. I never got the chance to BBM with them. Did Blackberries even have YouTube in them? If you're watching this on a Blackberry, please let me know. There's a fun story as to why these phones share their name with the fruit. It's because when they were being made, the tiny buttons reminded people of the seeds on the outside of a strawberry, so the makers decided to go with a fruit-based name. Blackberry fit the bill best because these phones were predominantly made in black. You'd probably heard of a handful of these berry names before. I definitely had. But once you start to actually think about them, you truly realize just how odd some of them are. But anyway, let me know your favourite berry down in the comments below. As for my favourite berry, well, I'm a pretty big Matt Berry fan.
Name Explain depends on viewers like yourself supporting the channel financially on Patreon, so a huge thank you to everyone who does. Donating just $1 a month helps the channel amazingly and gets you bonuses including ad-free videos, exclusive content, the power to request ideas to be made into actual Name Explain videos, and your name at the end of the video with all these awesome people. Visit patreon.com/NameExplain or click the link down below to find out how you too can support the channel. Thank you. Thanks for reaching the end of the video. Why not watch another and subscribe to keep up to date on all things Name Explain. You can find myself on Instagram where I'm NameExplainYT and join the Facebook group Friends of Name Explain to talk with myself and other name nerds. All that will be linked down below. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and once again, thank you all so much.